start. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good evening. You're listening to the Wolves Podcast. Everyone's having a magnificent Saturday. Keeping it real. Episode of that. Honestly, I forget what episode we did. This is like episode 1 or 2. I'm sure like once it comes to a big episode, I'll remember. But I'm joined by Andrew Bass. But before we start the show and we start talking wrestling, with the big news or the tragic news going on over in France, in Nice, France. Thoughts and prayers are with them. A lot of scary stuff is happening in this world, and hopefully we can put either make you want to debate something or make you smile in any way, shape, or form. But let's go with a big topic as of late. Brock Lesnar failing or potentially failing a drug test for the USDA after UFC 200. So there can be a lot of problems with this, and that one of them being the fact that Brock Lesnar or may not be able to wrestle at SummerSlam because the state of New York still is one of the few states to still be very strict on pro wrestling. So I just want to say, Andrew, do you have any big thoughts, anything before we really hit into this?
It's a very, very tragic news when it comes to the big match that I've been looking for, Brock Lesnar versus Randy Orton. But like the way I look at it is he's innocent until proven guilty. If what he needs to do is have them test that B sample, see what's going on. If he has nothing to hide, that's what's going to happen. It's going to show up and it's going to show nothing's wrong.
So this is from WrestleZone. This is basically going to be everything about New York. It says they state another layer in the convoluted tale, is that New York remains a commissioned state under the jurisdiction. My English is awful. Of the NYSAC, which is one of the last remaining places that still regulates pro wrestling. In most cases, it's just a doctor doing a basic testing, blood pressure, blah, 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 probably, drug tests, to make sure an athlete is healthy enough or healthy before a contest. But in this case, if the NYSAC decides to uphold any kind of punishment handed from the NSAC, Nevada State, Lesnar could be altogether ineligible to compete at SummerSlam, which takes in Brooklyn, regardless of what WWE says. Another thing is WWE does not have the jurisdiction to suspend Brock Lesnar. They legally have no obligation to suspend him.
Now explain a little bit of that so that everybody understands.
What do you mean?
Well, how does that exactly work if they don't have the jurisdiction?
Because it was not their drug test. So WWE can't do anything about it, as they are a non-sanctioned company and handle all their testing and policy making internally.
But see, this is really big news because if he did, in fact, do the drugs, I mean, they're saying, from what I've read earlier, that it could be as much as a 2-year suspension in MMA, and that would pretty much be the end of his career because, he's 39 years old.
That would just mean he can't wrestle more than likely in Nevada, and he can't wrestle in New York. I don't know all the states that still regulates pro wrestling, but New York has every right to make it where Brock Lesnar legally cannot wrestle at SummerSlam. But we also have to remember the big thing is if it's for steroids. What potentially is causing this, this ordeal is apparently could be an inhaler.
Hmm.
So, I mean, there's
See, that's that magic word, though, potentially. Like, it's not 100% at this point. We don't know what's going on.
I mean, for Brock Lesnar's case, it really sucks because it makes it where people are going to say, "Oh, he didn't win the fight clean."
Hmm.
And that's for his UFC career, but for like WWE standpoint, it really does suck because they just announced Lesnar versus Orton last week. So now we have the potential of this getting promoted to not even happen because of this. But he has every right to ask for them to check the B sample. You take multiple tests, and you take more than one, so that he could have the second sample or B sample taken for tests. But the big case here is if it was steroids. So, I honestly don't know. WWE could test Lesnar himself, just, which would probably be the smartest thing is, hey, look, you potentially failed this one. We'll look really bad if we don't test you.
Hmm.
So, but if
And it's the safest bet for them. Because then if they get a clean test, they can show it to them, and possibly it would help the case for Brock Lesnar, depending on how far the drugs would have hypothetically been in his system.
And here's the other big thing here. If WWE does test him and he does fail for something, then it's a 30-day suspension, which means that he would be able to wrestle at SummerSlam. But here's the big but. His next TV taping is this Tuesday, coming at SmackDown.
Mm.
So it's going to be interesting. Going to be really interesting. I think this week's going to be awesome. I'm really excited for Monday and Tuesday. When it comes to Sunday, voice crack by the way. When it comes to Sunday, I'm not excited. I'm kind of like, eh. I think the only thing I'm excited about is for Sasha's mystery partner. That's about it.
Right.
But I don't know.
Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn.
You made a big case on, Brock should not be suspended at all because they can't prove it, but it's kind of
I mean, as of right now, no. I mean, if they come out with a test later on, or they can somehow prove that is in fact, because that's that nasty word. You see potential. They don't know if it's 100% what they think it is. And that's the thing you should look for. You shouldn't suspend somebody unless you have definitive proof that they did it, like you did with Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns, you took the test, he failed it, and he came out and admitted it. There you go, closed case.
Well, he was
Brock Lesnar, it's different. Well, once he failed the test.
Yeah. I mean, there's honestly no telling. I don't know. I think if he failed the test and he has steroids in him, then, I mean, he knew the risk of taking them.
Right.
And he got caught. So if he gets caught, then, I mean, that's on him. And he should be punished and not allowed to wrestle SummerSlam. So, that's just me.
But it's all what if, Did he do it or did he not do it? And that's what I'm guessing the next few weeks are going to really bring to light.
Well, now the question is, will we see him Tuesday? Because again, his next TV taping is supposed to be at Tuesday for SmackDown, first live edition of SmackDown. So, speaking of, let's move on. Darren Young, we saw his debut on television this past week on Monday Night Raw for him to win the number one contendership for the Intercontinental Championship. So now, a lot of people were hating on him, and I said it Monday on the Monday Night Review, that I think we should just sit back and let Darren Young prove himself to see if he can get over.
Mm-hmm.
And I still stand by that. If we set him up to fail, we will do nothing but pick out the negatives. Doesn't matter if the guy puts on the best match he's ever put on in his life. We will pick out the negatives instead of his positives.
But see, and that's the thing where I see it. And I know there's a lot of fans that probably think the way that I did, especially when it came to Monday. I thought he actually looked better on Thursday than he did on Monday. If you remember on Monday, I was criticizing his victory like left and right. because in my view, Darren Young looked weak in the way that he won that match because it was, it wasn't his own doing. It was by, another wrestler knocking out himself and another wrestler. In my opinion, that is not a strong win. That is not giving somebody a push. That is, oops, mistake. You know what I mean?
I still can't give a strong opinion because we honestly do not know who Darren Young is. We still know that, like, his current character is what I mean by we don't know who he is. Like with Apollo Crews, who's Apollo Crews? What is he? What does he do? You can't answer that question. You don't know who his character is.
Right.
With Darren Young, we don't know who he is. We didn't even get to see an introduction with Darren Young. We don't know if he's face or heel right now. We don't know anything. If he's a heel, it kind of makes sense that he won like that, because that's a heel win. That's a way of a heel to win.
Right.
But if he's a face, it's kind of like, all right, and I don't watch SmackDown. I have no reason to. I just look at the spoilers. So, well, that's changing Tuesday. Woohoo!
About time.
WWE got me. They said,
but I mean, that's
this
the thing,
Blake
though.
guy doesn't watch SmackDown. We got to get him to watch.
Yeah, the thing with Darren Young is he has the potential to set his career to the point that he needs it to be. It's kind of like something I heard on the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast. They were talking about AJ Styles, and AJ Styles, and he's kind of been capturing my attention lately. He's definitely proved himself to be one of the greater minds of WWE and of all pro wrestling. But he said that when he was in TNA and when he was in New Japan Wrestling and all that stuff, he had absolute confidence in himself, and he said that he didn't think that it was up to anybody else to put him over. Like Darren Young and The Miz. It's not up to Miz to put Darren Young over. He said that it was up to himself to put himself over, and I think that's what Darren Young needs to put into his mind going forward. He needs to find a way to, like you said, put himself over. Get out there with the fans. Make himself marketable.
Exactly. I mean, the best way to do anything is if you put yourself over. Damian Sandow put himself over. Roman Reigns, when it's forced, when everything is forced to, when it's forced, we don't like it. The best example right now is look at Roman Reigns. If we had it WWE's way, we'd be cheering the hell out of the guy. But we don't like him because it's forced. We want something that that the WWE wants.
Absolutely.
Which, as of right now, there hasn't been someone like that since Daniel Bryan.
Right.
So, I don't know. Like I said, best thing to do is just sit back, let him do his thing. If he can get over, then he's doing his job. If he can't, then you hate on him. Go for it. Say you don't like him. But do not set him up for failure because you're going to do nothing but nitpick everything that he did bad. Like I said, the guy could have the best match of his life, and that would not matter.
But here's the thing, take in consideration. They're investing a lot of time in him as of late. If he doesn't win his championship match against The Miz, does that hurt him 100%?
I think
or
it
is
does.
that more like a setback?
I think it does.
I mean, you make all this time, invest in him, you get a WWE Hall of Famer backing him up, and then have him lose to The Miz. I don't see that as a way in which Darren Young can come back.
I think it hurts.
I mean, he's going to get pushed into the Zack Ryder, cubby, or his little hole that he's been in. I mean, Zack Ryder has been Zack Ryder since he debuted. I mean, I think that was when he was the most popular. The first, 6 months into his wrestling career, and now he's in that no man's land where everybody knows he shows up and loses every match.
Right. I don't know. I think if he wins, you set up a feud at SummerSlam with him and The Miz, which would be like a eh. But I mean, again, we have the draft coming up, so there's no telling what can happen at SummerSlam. But speaking of the draft and everything, yes, that is Daniel Bryan on your screen. Yes, we are going to be talking about Daniel Bryan. There has been multiple cases and a lot of rumors going around that Daniel Bryan will be the GM Again, we say GM because the roles of Stephanie and Shane McMahon are COOs. But Daniel Bryan could potentially be the GM of SmackDown. Apparently, on the WWE mobile app, there was a thing called. There was a article, and it was the Yes movement has moved on or made its way to SmackDown. It was quickly removed. It's still uncertain if Daniel Bryan is the potential GM for SmackDown. But that just, again, leaves, and here it is, WWE News. The Yes Movement takes over SmackDown Live. Now, it does not say his name, but Yes Movement is the big key. Over the last month, former GMs and power plays attempted to maneuver themselves into the position of SmackDown Live Commissioner. Yada, yada, yada. Doesn't really say anything about it, but Shane McMahon has tweeted Tuesday that he has his GM, and he will announce it on Monday. And now a big question is who will be Raw's GM, and then top two candidates that I've been hearing is Triple H and Eric Bischoff. And Eric Bischoff has made it very, very, very public that if WWE came knocking at his door to do anything, that he would immediately fly on a plane. I think the exact quote was, if they were to call me right now to get on a plane to Connecticut right now to go do something, he would do it. So that leaves the question of who will be the potential GMs for SmackDown and Raw.
I could definitely see Eric Bischoff in Raw. I mean, honestly, if WWE was smart, they would keep Triple H away from the GM role. And I say that only because
his wife will be his
right
boss.
now, well, not only will his wife be his own boss, but I think that one of the reasons why they're going with the brand split is to not only give the superstars a break, but to also give like Triple H and Stephanie a break. I mean, they've pretty much been in charge and in the background from day one since this new era started, you know?
Right.
And I feel as if, you know, they might want that time to spend with their kids instead of both having to take off, you know, for vacations. It's just like, okay, well, now Shane has SmackDown, you know, Stephanie has Raw. She has that time in which she can stay home with her family or with Triple H, and it's not as chaotic in the family. And I feel like that's a good move for them. So to add somebody like Eric Bischoff, who honestly has had experience and knows how to run a show and to make it interesting, I think it would be good on not only from a business perspective, but also from a nostalgic standpoint, because if you remember right, Eric Bischoff was the general manager of Raw for a very, very long time, where SmackDown pretty much had a GM every year or two until Teddy Long.
Right. I would think it'd be dumb to have a face GM for Raw when Steph kind of went back to heel, and then to have a heel GM for SmackDown, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, Eric Bischoff has, for most of his career, been a heel. So, I mean, it definitely would fit into the Raw fair category. But, I mean, who do we really have in terms of faces for SmackDown other than Daniel Bryan?
Yeah, I mean, you're right.
I mean, Teddy Long, but I wouldn't bring Teddy Long back, you know? It would be just like the old generation having Bischoff and Teddy Long, you know?
Right. And we're back. Had a bit of technical, I wouldn't even say technical, technical difficulties with microphones, so that's why we kind of went quiet. Do you remember where we left off?
Yes, we were talking about the GMs. And like I said before, it's just, you don't want to, in my opinion, you don't want to have both Bischoff and Teddy Long as GMs, because they were pretty much the longest reigning GMs for both brands. I feel like if you want to start off this new chapter, you want new faces, you want somebody like Daniel Bryan.
I agree.
Yeah.
Everything has to be new.
I mean, that's the only criticism I would have if they do choose Bischoff as their GM, as much as I would like to see it, because I would like to see him back on television. it just like it's like this double-edged sword there. It's a good thing and it's also a bad thing
Right.
if you want to look at it the new era.
I absolutely agree. I think that's how it it also should be with that. I don't know. It'll definitely be interesting. I think Daniel Bryan and Eric. Oh well, Eric Bischoff's questionable, but I don't know. This is what's got me interested in Raw. I mean, Raw, we're getting a WWE Championship, and we're also getting this. So like I said on the phone to you before, last Monday night's Raw, we have a potential of a good Raw. But, will it top last week's show, which I give it a 4, and that's another thing I actually would like to talk about, is Monday Night Raw. People are saying, oh, last week was awesome. Let me be clear on this. Last week's Raw, it wasn't a very good Raw. The reason why we're saying it was as good as it was is because, honestly, it would not have been hard to top the July 4th Monday Night Raw.
Absolutely.
So I think
when you go from a 0 to a 1, even that is an improvement. So it's kind of like when you look at this, you're like, wow, this is significantly better. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't what July 4th was, which was a complete and total train wreck.
If they would have made it worse than last week's, I would have given up right then and there, or that week. So we'll see. Can they get better than a 4? We'll see. They have the potential to with the announcement of the GMs and with the WWE Championship match. Now that it's being called. But, speaking of, let's talk Sasha Banks and her little tag team match. There's a rumor that this woman on your screen, Bayley, will be debuting at Battleground. And Andrew and I talked about this, and here's the scenario. Andrew can give his reaction and everything to it. And you guys, I want you guys to, after I say this, if you guys want to pause the video, think about it then and there, go ahead. Because this is my opinion, the best way to book Bayley if you're going to debut her at Battleground. So you do nothing, you don't say who it is until Battleground. When her music hits, everyone freaks out, she comes out, she does the match, that's the last time you hear from her. She doesn't come on any TV, any of it, unless she's drafted. Well, that would have, if this is of course also if she's not drafted. So you don't have her come on any WWE TV, unless it's NXT. So she's gone. Just have her not even mentioned. You have that Monday Night Raw after where like, oh, Bayley was her tag team partner. That's it. So then that's when you can have Sasha win the title at SummerSlam, and then that Monday Night Raw after that, her music hit. But we do not. If Bayley is the person to come out at Battleground as Sasha's mystery partner, then, like I said, do not have her on any TV, not house shows, nothing WWE related or main roster related. So, I mean, how would you book it if there is any other way? If Bayley is a tag team partner.
You don't book it any other way. That's the perfect way to book it. And basically what you would be doing is exactly what they did with Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn had a successful debut, in my opinion, because they held off on him. They had him have that one match with John Cena, and then he was never seen again. And for granted, he did have an injury, but at the same time, what they did is they created so much suspense waiting for him to come back. They showcased what he had, and then he disappeared. And then when he did return, it was to NXT. And he battled on NXT for a little bit, and then he debuted on the main roster. If they want to do the same thing with Bayley, they could definitely get a big pop, and that's what they really need. And honestly, if they really want to top WrestleMania and the triple threat match from last year, the best way to do it, and I think we've talked about this several times, there's only a few feuds which we would never get bored of, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, well, Bayley, Sasha Banks. The goal for them should be Sasha Banks versus Bayley at WrestleMania, in my opinion. That's what they should be booking right now at the end of the year for WrestleMania. The end game should be somehow, some way, Bayley versus Sasha Banks.
Well, if they have Bayley come out on more TV tapings after Battleground, it'll make people not want to see Charlotte versus Sasha. That'll immediately like, well, why can't we get Bayley versus Sasha Banks? Why can't we do this? So I don't know. I don't like that she's a rumored person because it's kind of like, oh no, this could be potentially bad. But then again, there's part of me that's like, oh, I can't wait. I really want to see Bailey, but that's the selfish side of me. But like, big fan that's like super hardcore that doesn't want to see this
Well,
or
see here,
that
let
wants to see
me.
everything perfect.
I'm sorry.
But
Let me touch base on that idea. If Bailey does appear on the TV tapings, it's gonna be why can't we have Bailey Sasha now? It's because they work so well together and they create such a good story. And honestly, that's the thing that they want to avoid more than anything, and that's what people have to get into their minds. You want to see Sasha versus Bailey, but right now it's not the perfect time. You want to debut it in one of the more prominent pay-per-views like WrestleMania. The same thing goes with Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. Should be their last hurrah. They should go their own separate ways by the draft. You know, to go on do bigger, better things, and then meet again sometime later.
right, I
But
agree.
here, what do we do if it's not Bailey? If it's not Bailey, who else?
There's nobody else. I mean, unless someone is making a return, which I don't think there's anyone out right now. Is there?
Nikki? I don't know if she's back and cleared to come back.
No, I wouldn't do Nikki Bella. I haven't. There hasn't been any reports on another test. She hasn't said anything about it, which they could be keeping serious. If it is Nikki Bella, as much as I'm like, it's good to see her back. That's also bad for the title because she's gonna come back for that title.
Right.
I don't know.
Well,
It'll be
it's not going to be Paige. I mean, that would be my second pick, but I feel
no.
like it
You
has to be
can't do
somebody
Paige.
new.
You
You know
can't
what I
do
mean?
Paige. No, no. The reason why I say you can't do Paige is because I don't know. She already was in a match on a Monday Night Raw in a tag team match in the same same basically for the same meaning, and they won. So I don't know. I personally, I'm kind of Paige is just a jobber right now, so I'm kind of like, stay away. But I don't know. There's no telling, man. I really don't know. And this is gonna, these questions are good though. Predictability, being predictable is not bad, but this is something that has a potential of being really good. Just like the GM stuff, potentially could be really good. Same with the WWE Championship. It's going to be on Monday. The draft has a potential of being really good. We don't know. So, we're just going to have to sit back and, watch it. Hopefully everything will go well. But, it wasn't a super long show, but I think this, really has covered everything that's happened in the recent weeks. Or week, excuse me. I wouldn't say weeks. And reason why we didn't do next big thing, a lot of family issues happened Thursday, and then a lot of stuff out in the world happening, and then so we'll be sure to get next big thing up next Thursday. I think it's going to be myself and Andrew next Thursday. Kyle will have that night off. Monday night will be live. We didn't do Keeping It Real last week because of the UFC fights, and we did that show that was super super late. Other than that, I think, like I said, I think we've covered everything unless you have something you're wanting to get off your chest.
I will say this. With Daniel Bryant, I was very impressed, and I don't know how you felt about it, with his commentary in the Cruiserweight Classic. I didn't know what to expect going into it, but I felt like the team there worked very well together. I was not disappointed. And then you had Corey Graves, who was behind the scenes kind of in the mix too, and I kind of felt like the three of them kind of played well off one another.
Right. I think Sean Maluta wrestled better than Kota Ibushi, who Kota Ibushi's one of the favorites in this in the which was also the main event, who's one of the people favored to win this tournament. Sean Maluta, who is cousins, he's a part of the Samoan family, so he's cousins to the Usos and Roman Reigns, The Rock, all of them, Kishi. I thought he wrestled his ass off.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, I think he did. I thought he out wrestled Kota Ibushi. That's just my opinion, though. I think
There's a
he's
lot of those
fun.
guys that should be on there though. They should be on NXT.
Yeah, I think Davari deserves to be on NXT. I don't understand why they had Davari lose to Ho Ho Loon. I don't know. Ho Ho Loon was kind of like, like he had a big reaction, but it was like, why?
Well, Ho Ho Lum was on his back 90% of the match.
Well, even the stuff he did, like it didn't even sound like it connected. I also think that Cedric Alexander deserves to be on that be signed. Cedric Alexander did absolutely amazing.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, he was electric. I
Graham
mean, that guy
Metallic,
is crazy.
Graham Metallic got signed. I can't like that actually happened. Graham
Oh,
Metallic got
okay.
signed.
They were saying he has some pretty cultured past when it comes to wrestling guys like Shinsuke Nakamura,
I
which
saw
I thought
that.
was
Yeah,
interesting.
he has a he has a lucha stuff. But yes, when it comes to I'm 90% sure, and I still could be wrong, that I've already forgot his name, got signed. The guy we were just talking about. Like, that's just how ADD I am. I looked at another article and boom, I've already forgot what I was talking about. Um, but on that note, I think, this has been probably one of the wackiest shows we've had, with technical issues, stuff like that. I mean, this is the second time well, I would say third attempt because we did have to pause it, which you guys I'm sure will be able to tell. We had to pause the recording, and then the first time I did not unmute what you guys. Everything I hear is what you guys hear. So Andrew, blah blah blah. I did not have him unmuted. So there's a good like 15 seconds on our first recording where I literally was just sitting there because I was playing the intro, and then I'm like, hey, well, Andrew, how's this? And I'm sure like nothing came out of it. I'm glad I caught it when I did, because there's sometimes I wouldn't even check, and that'll be like 30 minutes into a show. But I don't know. Let's just do our normal stuff. And this, like I said, this has been more of a wacky show. But be sure to hit that like button if you enjoy what you're listening to. Also, hit that subscribe button. That way you never miss a show. Monday nights, we go live with the Monday Night Raw review. Also, hit that little bell on your app for that way you get notifications when we go live. Go to your settings and turn notifications on if you're on a desktop. But Monday nights, we go live with a Monday Night Raw review, and starting this Tuesday, we'll go live with a SmackDown review. Wednesdays is Endgame. Thursdays will be Next Big Thing, and then Saturdays is Keeping It Real. And then obviously this coming up Sunday, we will have Battleground. We'll have the pre-show and our thoughts on the event. For Andrew Best, I'm Blake Carter. Until next time, peace out.